So the question, everybody, is: does the black and or white community have sellouts, and how do you find them if there are sellouts? So we're gonna start off with just yes or no for white and black. Don't give an explanation right now. We're gonna give that explanation. So we'll start off at the bottom first. Wade, are there sellouts in the black community? Yes or no? And are there sellouts in the white community? Yes or no?
I think no. I don't think there's any person who's representative of the black community or the white community.
Got you. Got you. Okay, cool. We're gonna get that explanation here a little bit. Aki, are there sellouts in the black community and are there sellouts in the white community?
You already know what I'm gonna say.
What you got?
Yes, and double yes.
Okay, okay. Dane, how about for yourself?
Look at that. Look at that. I worked it this time. Of course, of course, of course.
Okay. So both, and then T Reason, what you got?
Most definitely, man. You got sellouts on both sides, man.
Okay, Cola, how about yourself?
Same, both sides.
All right, man on the street.
Oh yeah.
On
Hey,
both
what's going
sides.
on? We got Crystal. What's going on, Crystal?
How's it going, Crystal? So real quick, Crystal, I'm gonna read. Does the black/white community have sellouts, and how do you find them? So my question for you is: does the white community have sellouts, and then does the black community have sellouts? What are your two answers?
Sorry that I got in here late, but yes, the answer is yes.
Yes, on both sides.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and kick this one off right here. So we'll start off with Aki. Why do you say there's black sellouts and white sellouts, and then how would you identify them if you could do that in like a minute or less?
Okay, we all obviously know that there are black sellouts. Okay, they're obvious. When you say sellout, you mean speaking against your community's advancement. Okay, that's what a sellout is. Okay, so we know who they are. Right now, we got Byron Donaldson. We used to have Omarosa. She done circled the block and came back, and now she's trying to do something positive by being a preacher in the black church and community and all of that. We might invite her back to the cookout. The list goes on and on. You know who they are. And the white sellouts right now, the main one that everybody knows is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's a white sellout.
Names. Okay.
So,
Okay.
but I can't go on and on. I can tell you more people, but those are some
I
quick
think you painted a good
examples of
picture of
sellouts.
those two examples. You painted a good picture.
Yeah, so I got my little stopwatch here. I'm stopping. You still had like 15 seconds left. You got anything else you want to cover on there?
No.
Okay, Wade, for yourself, if you could just remind what you said and then give an explanation why the men are less.
Yeah, I said no because I don't think there are people that actually represent the whole black community or the whole white community. So you can't sell out a community that you're not a representative of. And I don't think that one person can encompass a whole community. So to say that a person is a sellout for their community, it just doesn't ring true to me.
How old are you?
Wait,
40.
hold on.
Yeah.
Rules.
So, anything else you got, Wade?
No, I'm good.
You still got 20 more seconds. You good?
I'm good.
All right, it's Crystal. How about for yourself?
Yes. Definitely, both sides, I don't know. It seems like people don't portray their true selves, and it's very easy to sell out. And some people might even be paid to be a sellout. They might even be placed in front of different communities to be a sellout. We don't know. If this makes sense.
Okay, Colo, what you got? The white community, the black community sellouts. What's your thoughts and then why?
We definitely have them both on both sides, and it's going against your community and not going, when you get to a certain point, you have some sort of duty of representation, especially when it comes to us. Like, we are not in every room, and when we get in the room and where there's little representation, like all eyes are watching to go to the UN and that's ridiculous. Look, they started they've trying to deport that woman, okay?
All right, got one more. Let me get comments here. Help the best said Cola J. Following you back to spend some time with me. I'm selling out right now. Shout out to Help to Bear. Cola got a fan in the chat.
Yeah. Okay, T Reason, what you got?
Yeah, most definitely, man. I mean, you got clear sellouts, you got clear agendas being pushed, and you got people with large platforms that when you have a platform that big and you have a certain demographic that follows your message, and your message is clearly against the people that your message is supposed to be speaking to, you're clearly a sellout. You know, for a long time, Candace Owens was a sellout. And when you start to look at who's behind them, you start to look at their interest and their funding, because one of the questions was, how can you spot or how can you find out if they're a sellout? Well, you have to look at their interests. You have to see like where their money's coming from. You got to see who their boss is and where they're accepting payments and what their motive is going to be. And why would they push that agenda knowing that may be a false narrative or it may be misleading, and why they have an interest in pushing that message out? You got to pay attention to a lot of those things. Kanye as well. They both was to a degree sellout. And now Kanye is trying to pull back, to piggyback on the previous question. Now he's trying to pull back, a lot of the things he realized he went off track with.
Perfect. All right, Dane, you're up.
All right, man. Well, I guess after hearing the first 5 people respond, I need to change maybe need to change my answer, because when I think of a sellout, I think of someone who is taking a stand contrary to their group, whatever the group may be defined as. They're taking a stand that's different than that group, that's not congruent with their actual principles. Yeah, that's what I think about. If we're just talking about someone who might be, for instance, I've said before, I'm so conservative, I make Donald Trump look like he's a progressive. But during his first 2 terms, and so many of my friends and associates and peers and cohorts were posting stuff on social media of Donald Trump walking hand in hand with Jesus. Donald Trump with Jesus reaching over his shoulder, helping him sign stuff. And the dude, I still don't think he's a Christian. And so I would take a issue with that. And I would confront my conservative, okay, most folk don't even know what these terms mean, but I would confront my conservative friends about it. Now, they might would have said, well, Dane's a sellout, okay? But no, I was standing on my principles. So if the definition I'm hearing is what a sellout is, and I say nobody has a sellout, because nobody is entitled to or obligated to support anyone, any group, in anything.
Okay, got you. Appreciate that, Dane. All right, man on the street, what you got?
Yeah, you got sellouts, but see, I just like what the previous young man just said. See, now I could mess around with you, because if I met you and you say what you just said, we could have a conversation. Now, a sellout would change, because you just said exactly what I said. You say that Donald Trump is not a Christian, and I truly believe that. So your stance didn't change. See, people like conservatives that I know, that I call friends, their stance changed, because they always talking about a kumbaya moment. But then when Donald Trump came in office, and all this bad ish that he's putting out, and all this bad ish that the Trump administration is putting out, they're silent. See what I'm saying? So that's a sellout. Now, to the black, I can't speak for the white race. I can speak for the black race. We got so many sellouts, man, you can't count them on one hand. And those are the ones that are basically a detriment to people that look like me and look like y'all, because they say one thing to our face, and then when they're in those other rooms, they say something totally different. That's the way I look at it.
Okay, so we had Wade. I'm gonna go to you, Wade. You've heard everybody share their perspective, and yours is probably the most opposite, the most diametrically opposed, because you're saying there can't be sellouts because you can't speak on behalf of your entire ethnicity or race, however you want to word it.
I don't think one person should be held to speak for an entire race of people. Like, that's, one of the guys mentioned Candace Owens being a sellout. How was she a sellout? Just because she's black, she has to believe everything that every other black person believes. And so if she speaks her truth, she's now all of a sudden a sellout just because she's saying something that's contrary to what more people with her skin tone have to say. That's bullshit.
Can I
language?
So let's go.
I like to respond to that, because I'm the one who made the statement. So I'd like to respond.
That's what we'll do. We'll go T Reason first, and then we're gonna give everybody a chance. So yeah, T Reason, go ahead and just 30 seconds or less if you can respond to that.
So the reason why I say she's a sellout is because she retracted her stance on a lot of her points, and she's starting to realize a lot of the things that she was saying were misleading. And she was a sellout. She's starting she started to come around and retract a lot of her original stance. So if she hadn't felt like if she was, she would be staying true to her original statements and original beliefs,
So
and it wouldn't have changed and deteriorated as much as it has.
can grow.
No, there's a difference between growth and actual, like, come on now, like there's a big difference between it's almost like a stretch to say that you're gonna default to just saying it's growth. Because it's not like she wasn't aware. There's been several times
Sorry,
where
let me interject real quick because I want the man on the street to say his part too, and then Wade can address both. Both.
Yeah, I guess I hear what my man is saying, and I understand that what you're saying about Candace Owens. But my point is, Candace Owens, when she was in high school, I think it was high school, she sued because she said that it was racism. She sued that she said that she was being sought out because of the color of her skin. Now she's saying something totally different, saying that it's not the color of your skin, it's you. That's changing up. That's what I mean that she's a sellout. That's why I say she's a sellout, because it was good when you needed the justice system to help you get some money. But now, when somebody else, people of color, gets out there and wants to sue no, don't do that. No, make sure it's about your merit. That's why I call her a sellout.
So
That's
do you
why
believe in high school?
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you believe everything that you believed in high school?
No, I'm saying what she said. I'm not saying what I said.
No, but you're holding her to a different standard than you would hold any other person to. So if I have a view in high school, if I have a public view in high school that I go to court over, then I can't change my mind on that topic for the rest of my life, or I'm a sellout.
She had the same problem recently with her current employment. So
be so respectful.
So she had the same problem recently. It wasn't like she just had it then. She had the same problem come back around full circle, and now she's saying the same thing again.
What? I'm sorry, I'm not up to date on the.
She had a fallout with where she was previously
Daily Wire.
The Daily Wire. She had a fallout with them, and it was everything we told her was going to happen. She started dealing with those exact same things, and now she's realizing what she should have realized that she'd been warned about several times. How many times do you have to be warned about something before you wise up and say, you know what, maybe I'm not qualified to speak on these things because I'm not paying attention to the information I'm receiving?
Well, what I want to do real quick is I want to go to Aki and then Dane, and then we'll open it up to everybody else as well. So Aki, what do you got to say on that topic? I know you're chomping at the bit.
I want to start by apologizing to Wade for what I said earlier. I want to start there. Okay. The reason why I'm going to touch on something else, the reason what makes Candace Owens a sellout is that she circled back around after she got fired from Turning Point USA and started supporting Black people again. And then as soon as she got a check, she was out there attacking LGBT and Black people again, and the Macrones and all of them people like that. That's what makes her a sellout. And to your other point you were making, Wade, about we can't rely on one person to represent the community. We're not the ones that's doing that. Some of them are out there fishing to be seen, and others are being elevated to those positions. Celebrities want to be recognized, okay? People, when I say celebrity, I don't mean just Beyonce and them. I'm talking about the Candace Owenses, the Byron Donaldses. Those people raise their hand to be recognized by the opposition as opposition to their own community and are blessed with money. They don't start off automatically getting money. They start off just speaking crazy rhetoric, hoping to be recognized by someone who's going to give them a check.
I appreciate you, Aki. Let's get Dane in there. What do you think about that topic?
I think all kinds of stuff, man. I think all kinds of stuff. I would be really excited to hear someone give me a morally objective argument as to why anyone owes anything to their racial, religious, some other ethnic demographic. See, I would want to know that. Now, as far as Candace Owens is concerned, I mean, I've never heard her present herself as any kind of a leader of any demographic at all. But, you know, I just don't understand why these people, just because they might happen to be Black, or some of them might be a Jewish person who is maybe speaking against the modern state of Israel, they might be called a sellout or something. I don't understand how someone, because they might be in a group, most of the time they had no choice to be in or not, somehow or another is considered to be obligated to toe the party line, whatever that group might be. You know, again, when Trump's first two administrations, and everything. You know, when it came time, you know, he was doing stuff and saying stuff. You know, I was against him when he ran the first time because he's not conservative. He's a populist and he's a nationalist. And I spoke up to the people that I'm supposed to be on the same side as. I spoke up to them. Why? I didn't know them nothing. I mean,
Hold
my
on,
whole
Dave.
life.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go.
That was good, but
That's cool. That's cool, man. That's cool.
I want to ask Dan.
hold on real quick, Aki. Sorry about that. We got to get Crystal in, and I want Cola to speak to the issue too. So, Crystal, go ahead. What do you got to say on the topic? If you have anything.
Yes, what I was gonna say is what somebody, I don't remember who it was, it might have been T Reason, said, really that you gotta start following the money. That's really where you should start to see about how they became a sellout or why they're a sellout, is start looking at their funding and trace it back to that, because that is where you'll always find your answer as to why they are that way. Like I said earlier, that you never know, they might be paid to be a sellout.
But remember, you have to be for sale in order to be bought. So these people already have their hand in the air. They're already for sale.
Yeah.
Well, that's
All right,
uh,
hold on for a minute.
wanna-
Vulcan. Hold on, Vulcan. I want to bring in John Martin.
John Martin. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Yes. So,
Oh,
doing
Mr.
pretty
Martin.
well.
Howdy, howdy.
Yeah. So, real quickly, I want to bring you into this. You can put the question back on the screen, Enos.
Yes, sir.
So I don't even throwing you out into the water real quick, but does the black and or white community have sellouts, and how do you find them? If you can just answer if you think black communities have sellouts, if white community has sellouts, and also how can you identify them in a minute and a half?
Okay, so let me do this since I'm just on. Let me kind of engage in the conversation. How are you guys defining sellout?
Okay, if you want to just we'll get so actually that's one thing I wanted to ask as well. But I first want to bring Cola in, and then after that we'll get to that question. That's a really good question about how we're defining it. So Cola, you got something you want to say?
To piggyback off of what Dane was saying earlier, and he was asking about, like how do they represent their groups? In particular, Candace Owens, we wouldn't even know Candace Owens had she not seeked out help with the NAACP, which is a representation of the Black community. In particular situations like that, how do you get help and come to us in time of need, and we support you and we represent you, and then every single time, as soon as you get a chance and you get a check, you back to the other side?
But if I could respond to that, Candace Owens hit her issue with the race issue, the hate crime that she had that Al Sharpton was involved in. That was when she was in high school. And people that are involved in that sort of a political stuff, they may have known who she was, but Candace Owens didn't become famous because of that issue with the governor's son that she went to school with, who texted her a bunch of like race hate stuff. That's a true situation that you told, but that wasn't what made her famous. What started getting her attention is when she showed up on YouTube with a little streaming channel she was taking positions and stuff that was on the right of the political spectrum. And because she was a black girl, a black woman, she was very young, but so I say girl because I'm old, but because she was a black person taking conservative positions was very unusual, especially at that time. And that's why she started building an audience. And then she went on to Prager and TPUSA and a Daily Wire and that sort of stuff. She blew up.
Yeah,
That's right. I appreciate you sharing that.
I disagree with that.
Okay,
That's
Cola,
why
say why you disagree.
She was placed in that position.
That's possible. That is possible. I don't argue with that. I look at a lot of these people. I ask people all the time, especially black friends of mine and such, when subjects like this come up, I ask them, who is it when someone says such and so is a black leader? Who made that decision? I've never heard of black people getting ballots in the mail to vote on who their leader's going to be. And they never say that about white people, Jewish people, Native Americans. They never say this guy's a Native American leader. They don't say that. They don't say Benjamin Netanyahu or any of those people are Jewish people's leaders, but they'll say with the black community, Jesse Jackson.
Sorry, Dan. That's a really good point. Aki, you had something you wanted to say?
Yes. White people don't have to tell us who their leaders are because we see who they are. They don't have to be announced. The white is always silent. Okay. And I want to bring up another point here. I don't know, Dave, your name is Dave, right?
Dane, like Great Dane, like the dog breed.
Then how do you identify racially? It's just a question. I'm not being ambiguous or anything.
I'm Scotch Irish.
Okay.
They
Well,
mentioned that earlier.
I think that you probably need to read this book, The Miseducation of the
Education of the
Negro,
Negro.
because Carter G. Woodson breaks down all of your misguided information you've been given tonight about Black people.
So, in other words, instead of engaging with my argument and dispelling it with logic, you just gonna basically imply that I'm just uneducated and too stupid to know the truth. Come on, man.
He's giving you a route to take.
I didn't say that.
He's giving you a route to take.
Why do I need a route to take? Why do I need a route to take if I'm not lost? That's still an implication that I'm just lost. Bless his little fat bud. He just don't know no better. Here's a book to read. Why not engage with my argument? Read this book. It's not an argument.
So does anybody think that they could refute?
Well, you know, when somebody say read a book, it means that they don't have the time to break down every single chapter in that book to you over
Well, then why
a
not
2-minute
just-
segment.
Well, then why not
It would
engage
take a
with the
long time for
argument?
you to
Engage
for you
with the
to-
argument. Read a book does not engage with an argument. It's an implication that I'm uneducated. If I'm uneducated, it should be easy for him to mount a moral, objective argument.
That's an
to
opinion. That's
defeat
not
my
a fact.
claim.
That's an opinion you
That's
have. That doesn't-
logic.
Hold on real
That's
quick.
logic, brother.
Hold on, Dane, real quick, because I don't want to get into the metacognition. And just for the audience out there, there's the conversation that we're having. Then there's a conversation about the conversation, which may be necessary at times. Don't get me wrong, but I think we got both sides of it. Dane's made his point. T Reason made his point as far as that goes. Aki, do you want to engage with what he said specifically, or you feel like within the time constraints that's not going to be good enough for you?
No, it's too broad. The book is required reading for African Americans in Black cities in high school and definitely in college.
But as
Black
far
people
as
have
right
been-
now, you wouldn't want to engage with what he was talking about.
No, it's too deep. I just actually read the book for the third time, and Carter G. Woodson is somebody you need to know about. And
Real
he-
quickly,
he-
I appreciate you plugging the book right there. That's a very common book. Man on the street. We go ahead, man on the street.
Yeah, I want to say something. What Crystal said and what Cola J, they basically say the same thing. Follow the money, and when you follow the money, you see how people go. Because if you was, and I'm just saying a broad statement, I'm not saying it for anybody. If I was to talk about Black people in a negative way, my channel would blow up. If white people or anybody else talk about their people in a negative way, their channel would blow up. So you follow the money, and that's how people, especially the ones I call a sellout, get popularized, because they're talking about their own people. And that's why I agree with what Krista J say and what Cola J say, because they basically saying the same thing. Just follow the money.
Okay, real quickly, Wade, this kind of circled around what you were saying initially. You got anything you want to add to that?
No, I'm good for now.
So I want to say this really quick, because I know it's easy to label people that are famous as sellouts. One, you don't have to interact with them. Number two, a lot of their stuff is easy to see. But as far as like, I guess what I want to know is the low level people, like the people that work every day, blue collar, white collar jobs that aren't getting paid outside of what they do for a living. How do you determine if they are a sellout or not? And I want to go around with that. I'll skip Wade on this one because he doesn't believe people can speak on behalf of their entire ethnicity or race. So I'll start with Aki, and then we'll go around the line. And it's 30 seconds or less. How can you identify the sellouts in the white and the Black community, just in everyday people that only get paid one way?
The first thing they say is your vote doesn't matter. That's the first thing they say. Why you even vote? It doesn't matter. The president is picked for you anyway. That's the first sign. The second sign is false belief in something. Like they'll say, I love Dr. Martin Luther King, but then I don't vote. They'll stand there and say stuff like, that girl who got killed by ICE is like, she should have complied. That's what they say. She should have complied.
Gotcha. Okay, that was 30 seconds right there. So, Crystal, how about for yourself? You know, in 30 seconds or less, like, how do you identify the everyday sellout in the white or Black community?
Without monetary ties, because that's the only thing Either that or they are afraid to really stand up for the valid points that they have and they believe in, and they're afraid to use their voice. So then they sway the other way to go with the majority of the people's thought process instead of critical thinking.
Just to understand a little better, for the everyday person that's working in a factory or going to their job and driving home to their family, in what way would they be standing up to where it'd be noticeable to everybody else?
My mind just got a vision of Norma Ray. I don't know if anyone's old enough to even remember that movie, where she worked in a factory or whatever. And I forget what she was fighting for because it was a long time ago. But just I don't know. I'm just going to work.
Yeah, if you don't know, it's fine. I just was
No,
saying
no, no. I mean,
you know.
like the person. I'm just going to work. I'm just doing my job. I'm not even talking to anybody. I'm not going to let anybody know, what I'm doing basically. And so I'm just keeping to myself. And so, you know what I mean? Like maybe some of those people have that kind of thought process.
Okay.
So where they wouldn't be placed in a situation to stand up for something, but it could be your lunchtime is only 30 minutes and you got to clock in and out and you don't have time to eat or whatever, like something like that. And you're going to stand up to your management or whatever, but
I got you. I'm hearing you. Okay, so man on the street, how about for yourself?
For me, just like my man Dane said, he said that he's a true conservative. So I understand his viewpoint. If you're a true conservative, you stay that way. You don't sway towards the way that Donald Trump is. And that's why I say with friends of mine, if you see it an injustice and you know that it is an injustice and you don't speak out about it and you go along with the norm, you're a sellout. So that's why I agree. If you're a conservative, that's why I say we can have a conversation. We could agree to disagree, but at least we had the conversation. So that's the way I look at the people that I work with, because I work with a bunch of them that I know was conservative, but now they're way over there. No, they're not conservative anymore. They're MAGA. And I have an issue with that. And I'm talking about both black and white. So for me, if you sway, no, I can't mess with you. Just
Hey,
can't do
Dane,
it.
how about yourself?
Well, I think that if Man in the Street and I actually had a conversation with the two of us, he'd probably find that we get along and agree on a lot more than we disagree, even though we may disagree on enough to put us on two different sides of the spectrum. So that's how I feel about it. So, and to speak what he said about people that swish and sway, I complain about this all the time. I'm an old guy, so I'm over on Facebook with most of my complaining until I started streaming a few months ago. But what you're talking about, man on the street, are people who are unprincipled. They don't have principles. They have feelings and preferences, but they have not considered their positions and sought out a logical, philosophical foundation for it. They just going because that's what good people do. Everybody knows such and such, and they end up with that. So when the winds change, they change.
And so T reason for yourself in 30 seconds or less, like, the everyday working person, just for the audience out there that's not getting paid, that we see on social media or on TV. How do you detect that they're a sellout? And I apologize. I should have made the question more specific. We're talking about a racial sellout specifically. This white person or this black person is selling out their community. And I may have to go back to people to get them to answer it again in light of that element to it. Because some of it seemed like it was more vague, just somebody selling out on their own principles. But so, which is I would say slightly different from what we're talking about. T reason in 30 seconds or so, like, how do you identify that everyday person has to sell out to their race?
They have conflicting viewpoints with a mission of the truth. So they have a viewpoint on something, but then there's plenty of evidence that state what the truth is, and they still have their conflicting mindset, and the facts are laid out for them, and there's a lot of information on it, and they still have that conflicting viewpoint against their own personal interests or against their own community to a degree.
Okay. John Martin, how about yourself? You're on mute. Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you have a couple of things. So first, you have this idea of selling out, and I think that there's a overarching principle when you talk about affiliation with any identity group, and that is, I may not do anything to help you, but I certainly won't do anything to hurt you. And I think what happens with a sellout is a sellout does things that undermines the efforts of the collective, right? And and so that's a very clear. There's actions and behaviors that accompany an attitude, and usually it's in contradiction to whatever their affinity group is. Then you have people who buy into an alternative point of view from their affinity group. So there are people who might say, you know what, I think it's in my best interest to align my thoughts and actions with this principle. So for example, if you're a Christian person, but you align your thoughts and actions with the Muslim faith, right? That's a contradiction, but you buy into another practice because it benefits you. And usually it's the individualization of the benefit that ascribes itself to being a sellout or buying in. And the sellout is the person who it's a detriment to his community group. So in the case of a self-selection around faith, it doesn't hurt anyone else that you choose another faith. But if you are a person you're casting a vote against affirmative action, for example, then you are impacting other people through your behavior. And that's the action of selling out. And so I think that it can happen in any number of ways. I just think that depending on the affinity group determines the level of it and the degree to which it impacts that group as a whole. Because if you don't have the power base, right, then your behavior doesn't really have a detrimental effect in and of itself. But if you're part of a power base, or if you have the ability to shift the narrative in some ways, then I think the label of sellout is more applicable.
Okay. And I want to bring Wade in because you had a different view, I think, in general than most people, just because I think your point is that there can't be representative in that sense. So Wade, you got anything you want to say to what's been said so far from everybody? You're on mute. You're saying something, you're on mute, Wade.
I
There
got
we
you.
go.
Wade.
I still haven't heard a reasonable argument on how someone can be a representative of their entire race. I can't think of a single white person who I would say is a representative of white people. Like, just that I can barely say the statement without laughing. Like, who's a representative of all white people? That's so retarded. It doesn't make any sense to me that someone could, if you can't be a representative of that entire group, then you can't sell them out, obviously. Like, you have to be a representative of a group to be able to sell them out. On the white people side, for sure, it's an impossibility because there's no one person that anybody could point to. Vanilla Ice, maybe? That's the closest thing I got as a representative of all white people. And
Can I
People
just
love Ryan Reynolds.
Can I just say something? I'm not trying to be facetious, but I thought you were talking about the individual. The individual is the person that's selling out. I don't think you're talking about the individual towards the whole white race or the whole black race. I'm talking about individuals. And it goes back to what somebody said earlier. It's the detriment to your people. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about, I'm speaking for the whole black race. But that one person.
That's exactly who gets called a sellout. It's usually, so that's the problem. Is that
Individual.
every
That's what I'm saying,
time,
the individual. That's what I'm saying, the
but
individual.
when we think of sellouts, thinking of sellouts, the names that come to mind are all, or the vast majority, are going to be black names. And why is that?
So if you don't mind. So
Yes,
you
go
have
ahead.
someone like Clarence Thomas, right? He's the Supreme Court justice who his life's journey is very storied and very much riddled with hardship and in many cases a lot of insurmountable challenges. And he was a benefactor of affirmative action type opportunities. And that guy is closing those doors for people who are to come behind him. That is how an individual can impact an entire group and sell out other people from having the same opportunities that he had.
That's once again, that's the whole, that right there explains or goes to show that it's always black people that get hung with this appellation of being a sellout. And
Well-
almost every single time, it's if they have a conservative viewpoint, because only blacks are the only group that are based on a skin color that then have an overwhelming political ideology. Something
Well-
like 90 plus % of blacks are Democrat. And so every time a black
That's
person
a crazy
says-
mindset to
wait,
have.
hold on, every time a black person is conservative, all of a sudden that those conservative values that they hold are then held against them, and they're called a sellout because they have conservative views, just views that differ.
Well, hold on.
from
Wait,
the
let me
rest
step in real
of
quick, Wade.
mainstream black culture.
Yeah, wait, let me step in real quick. Just I want to Wade get a little more time because his viewpoint is different than everybody else's. So I wanted him to get a chance to really get that out so people can address it. So anybody that wants to cross-examine Wade or to explain a different kind of way, or anybody
Well,
wants
I have a question. I have a question for Wade.
go ahead.
Do you think that Rhino is a sellout?
No,
The term Republican in name only. That's
right.
That to me is the same, falling under the same category as what a sellout is.
I
So
don't-
they label these
They're
people
not-
rhinos, and then all of a sudden, because they have a different
The original
viewpoint,
question was, is there such a thing as a white or a black sellout? Right?
there's
think-
both.
Can
No, there's both.
Can you put the original question back there?
There's both.
Well,
The black white community have sellouts.
Well,
Republican is not black or white.
Well-
See, the only reason that you think a Republican is white is because you know that blacks.
It's not that I
are
think. It's
90%
not
Democrats.
based on.
Wade, reason.
It's not based on what I think. It's based on the color of that person who's being labeled a rhino. It's not based on what I think. It's based on the factual evidence.
But
So
you're-
if
you're
a
trying to
person is
say-
labeled a rhino,
Let him finish.
if that person that's labeled a rhino is a white person, then that's where that's
Right.
coming from.
But that's
it's
not
not-
a white that's not a white community
Well-
thing.
well-
Republican is not a white thing. So
Well-
get that start there.
Can
No,
I
wait.
can I get in on
Hey,
this?
Hold on,
you don't
hold
mind.
on, hold on, real quick. Real quick, I
Start
want to go to
there.
John Martin, and I want to go to Dane
Republican does not
afterwards.
Yeah.
mean
All
white.
right, Wade, hold on. For
Hold
the
on, Wade.
panel,
Hold on, Wade.
So-
I do want to
so-
say something for the panel. Make sure y'all eliminate y'all background noise, and for the audience, please subscribe and like the video, please.
Yeah.
John, I think I heard some
You have any
background
comments?
noise.
You
Yeah.
know, so we keep
So-
going.
Yes, we
I
do.
saw
I
you
do.
putting some on the screen, but I'm
Yes,
not.
sir, we do.
Yeah,
Let's see-
well,
let's see.
one
I
of the
put
things
up
I
a-
would
Hold on,
say
put
to
John-
you.
Hold on, we're gonna put the
is-
comments up, and then we're gonna go to you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, Help the Bear said, thank you, Wade. Somebody that's agreeing with Wade. And then, was it King Ryan said, no, not true. Hispanics and Asians are a small minority group that are known to sell out their own. Excuse me. That's all for now. We can get to, one more. Help the Bear said, T. Reason, I can assure you that every day go against all facts that could be in your best interest. Argument, trash. All right, let's
Okay,
go back
so
to
real quickly. So
Well-
John Martin, go ahead and go, and then
Yeah.
after that, we're gonna follow up with Dane.
I think one of the premises is that you have to understand the overarching objective, right, in this melting pot called America is assimilation. And I think that when you talk about Black people being labeled as sellout, it's oftentimes akin to the difficulty that we, just from a color standpoint, have difficulty assimilating. And so you can assimilate in thought and mind and not be able to physically assimilate. And so when you have those kind of obstacles in a community group, you have differences in the approach to which you achieve whatever status you have as citizens. And I think that that's where the difficulty comes in, and that's where selling out is so important. Because if people who are able to, in some ways, assimilate, even despite skin tone, oftentimes leave behind people who are not able to do that same thing. And so because the goal of all of the other groups are to assimilate, and they have a much easier time assimilating, it's usually a stigma that sticks in the Black community a little differently. Because in order to assimilate fully, you have to ignore some historical things. You have to ignore Jim Crow. You have to ignore the legacies and the impact of slavery on the community, and the continued reverberance of those impacts in the community, and how they limit some opportunities, and how historically there have been things put in place through law that limit Black people. And so when you start thinking about the desire to assimilate and the ability of some to do it more readily than others, it creates that disparity in the community. And those people who are able to do it more so either through their connections, or in our case, we get the accoutrements of success, where you don different ideologies and so forth. those people tend to close doors that were opened by other people before them. And that's where the stigma and marker of sellout comes from in the Black community. It's
Okay,
just
that's
forgetting the fact that the story of Black people has been very, very unique and different as it relates to the American narrative.
okay. Now, Dane, you got a minute and a half. What you got, Dane?
Oh
For
man.
you next, Crystal.
As far as the issue, if I could touch on that about the Rhino Republican thing, the difference that Wade is not articulating very well is being a Republican has a set of characteristics that's easy to define and recognize. A set of agreed upon positions that says if you belong to this party, well, this is what you agreed to do. These are your philosophies and your principles and your beliefs. Okay, being white, being Black, to my knowledge, does not have any such thing. Like my daughter-in-law, sweet saint of God, her father was Jamaican, her mother was white. She was adopted out of the foster care system and raised by people that are so white they bleed sour cream. In her mind, she thinks of herself as a white chick. If I look at it and you look at it, we say she's mixed or Black. So there's no definition to what is or is not Black, white, Asian. When people say Asian, they're thinking about the yellow races like the Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese. Indians are Asian. Many Russians are Asian. You see what I'm saying? So when we get into these terms, we really need to deal with the semantics of what qualifies a selling out against, in this case, Black or white. We don't really have a definition unless we want to practice colorism. And if we want to try to advance this idea that if you are Black, for instance, in this case, then you are required or expected to have a certain thought process. There are many, many people like George Wallace, Robert Byrd, and other very virulent racist segregationists that would completely agree with you that Black people think like X, white people think like Y. If that's who, I
Appreciate
personally
that,
don't
Dane.
believe on that.
Okay, so I'm gonna go Crystal, I'm gonna go Cola, then Aki, then I'm gonna go the man on the street. So Crystal, go ahead. Got anything, Crystal?
I don't know. All of this, my mind just keeps thinking. Did you hear me?
Yeah, you good.
I don't know. All of this, my mind just
Okay, yeah,
keeps
there's
thinking.
some kind of noise in the background.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, you good.
Okay. All I keep thinking is, listening to the panel is, well, yes, hold on. I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay, we'll go ahead.
Um,
Yeah, okay, you ready? Okay.
all I keep thinking is that at the end of the day, when you cut us open, like we all bleed red blood, and the continued divide of trying to put us, like into different boxes and groups, or whatever, just keeps the arguments going back and forth, which further divides us, which that's all I kept thinking. I don't have any other answer, but that's all I kept
Okay, that's
thinking
fine. That's
when I was
perfect.
listening to the people talk.
Okay. So Cola, you got a minute and a half. What you got?
I don't have anything to add at this moment.
Okay, Aki. It's on you.
I find it very strange and interesting how somebody like Dane and Wade have somebody like John down here explain something so intellectually, and they completely go act like he said nothing. When you have a person like me who's not as intellectual, which Dane asked for such an eloquent explanation about something, he doesn't understand. Now, first of all, John Brown is the most famous white sellout ever. Okay. Nancy Pelosi is a white sellout. So is Bill Clinton, is also considered a white sellout. Okay. This is what these people say, not me. Furthermore, when you talk about race, you want to talk about who's Asian and who's Black and who's white and this and that. We have to remember that race is a made up construct. Okay. My last name is Leach. I'm part Scottish Irish myself. My great grandfather was Scotland Scurlock. But right now, I have to identify as a Black man because that's what the white man told me that I was.
Not true.
So who made up white and black and Asian and all of that? Who made that up?
Well, go ahead and finish that. Sorry,
Racist scientists and biologists made that up to separate people, and you're letting them tell you how to identify. People will call me white. I identify as Scotch-Irish, but why? Because I'm a man who makes my own decisions. You're letting them make you identify as what they think you are.
This is America. You can identify as a nationality all you want. But guess what? In this country, African Americans, we don't have a country to identify with other than the United States of America. So hold
Completely
on. You've
Application.
been speaking a lot.
But hold on, T-Reason. Hold on. Let them finish this out.
Hold on. You've been speaking a whole lot. But in this country, in America, unfortunately, because of the white made-up construct of whiteness, when a black person comes to this country, I don't care where they come from. They can come from Cuba. They can, which a black Cuban can come here and say, "I'm Cuban, I'm not black." A Dominican comes here and say, "I'm Dominican, I'm not black. I speak Spanish." No, when the police pull you over, they see an N-word. I don't care what you say. So
I know you don't care what I say, because what I'm saying is true.
If you want a discount, give me 1 more second, please. Everybody's been talking, and my mic been getting muted. Can you hear me? Okay. That's my last part. Give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. If you want to identify yourself the way you should be identifying yourself, you should be identifying yourself as non-melanated, because that's what's wrong with you. You don't have no melanin in your skin. Okay? We have melanin. If you don't want to use race, you can say y'all are non-melanated people and we're melanated people. I have a little bit more melanin than you. You lack melanin. If you want to take race completely out of it, but as long as we're in the United States of America, and I'm sorry I'm not as eloquent as John because he's excellent, but when he speaks, y'all ignore him for some reason.
Well, I want to give you got 5 more seconds, Aki. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's just eliminate race if that's what you want to do, and then see how everybody gets treated then. Because guess what? As an Irish person, you wasn't even white in the 1920s. You was a you know what.
So
I didn't say I was.
I want to get to the comments.
I want to give Dane. Sorry, go. What you saying?
Yeah, I want to get read some comments before we get back to the dialogue. I was born my ethnicity and didn't choose that association. Because of that, I can't be assigned a certain set of beliefs or expected behaviors just because of the color of my skin and ethnicity. Let's get back to the dialogue.
Okay, so real quickly, I want to give Dane a minute to respond to Aki, and then after that, we're going to the man on the street.
Aki spurged and gish galloped so much, I'm not sure which point he wants me to respond to.
Pick one.
But I did not say I was Irish. I said I was Scotch-Irish, although Irish is probably, would be great too. But most of what he just tried to tell me about, you weren't considered white, you were considered Irish, had nothing to do with the point I made. And I don't even try to refute that. But that's completely irrelevant to the point. The rest of what Aki said was nothing more than his incredulity, his offense, emotional spurging, that sort of stuff. It's not an argument. And what I wish that he would do is actually engage with what I've said instead of all of that, just that soliloquy, all of that just going on and on and on in his feelings, and actually present me with a logical argument that I could respond to.
Hold on, Aki. Hold on, my delivery. You just don't want to accept it because I'm not John Martin.
Hold on, you got 20 seconds, Dane.
Okay, well, if you're not John Martin, maybe you can go to private chat over here and type in what you need John Martin to say for you. But what I'm looking for is a logical argument I can respond to, and not simply, I know you are, but what am I? Like with children. I would love to engage with you. I can tell listening to you, you're not dumb, but what you're saying is just emotionalism and shame, guilt, peer pressure, scorn, incredulity. That's not an argument. I am here to deal with arguments, not with feelings. So that's where I'm at, bro.
Now we got that real quickly. I want to have the man on the street go. You got a minute and a half, man on the street. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to go back to something that Wade said earlier. He said that 90% of blacks, African Americans, are Democrat. I can say the same thing about the Republican Party. So I'm not going to generalize it that way. What I was going to say.
Hold on, Wade. Go ahead.
You can't say that.
Real quick. Sorry.
Wait.
Take your notes, y'all. Take y'all notes.
You cannot say 90% of white.
Hold on, Wade. The man on the street. Go ahead and finish.
I'm just saying.
Hold on, man on the streets. I just want to let the panelists let people get the chance to say their piece. We get everybody a chance to speak. All right, go ahead, man, on the
I'm
streets.
just reiterating what you said. You said that 90% of African Americans are Democrats. That's what you said. Now, when I said that 90%, I could say the same thing, that 90% of Republicans are Caucasian. You're going to say that's not it. See, we're not going off of facts. See, now I'm going to use what my man Dane just said. You're going off of feelings. See, I'm just reiterating what you just said. So when I'm talking about a sellout with the Republican Party, did this Trump administration sell out the people that voted for him? And I'm talking about the farmers, because that's a sellout, because the farmers are what getting hosed. And those are the people that voted him back into office. Don't get mad at me. I'm just speaking the same thing that you just said. So I'm done. You can have the rest of my time.
Okay, you got a minute.
No, because first of all, 90% of Republicans are not white by any stretch of the imagination, number one. But that in and of itself, you flipped it. I said 90% of blacks are Democrat. So for you to use the same logic, it would be 90% of whites are something, and 90% of whites aren't anything. There's nothing. It's almost split down the middle between Democrat and Republican for white people. It's almost down the middle. So you can't say that, and every other race tracks the same on the political chart. So about 50% of Latinos are Democrat and about 50% are Republican. About 50% of Asians are Democrat and about 50% of Asians are Republican. Every race that is true except black people. Black people is the only race that it is widely skewed one direction or the other. And that is 90% of blacks are Democrats.
That's not a factual statement.
Hey, everybody, hold on.
We can argue on the exact number, but it's greater than 85%.
No, it's not. It's not greater than 85%.
You said it already.
I know, but he keeps on throwing out more numbers, and I got to
look it out right now. According to, let's see.
Well, hold on, Wade, real quick. Man on the street, do you want to respond to that?
All I'm saying is I'm using your logic. I'm just throwing out numbers like you're throwing out numbers. We don't know the actual numbers. So I'm just saying the same thing that you say. I just put it in reverse. And like I say, I'm taking emotion out of it. Yeah, there may be more Africans Americans that are Democrats, but you cannot tell me there's not more Caucasian that are Republicans. You can't say it's 50-50. I'm just using your logic. So if you're going to get mad at somebody, get mad at yourself because you threw the numbers out. I didn't.
It's close to 50-50 for every race except black.
Can I say something? I just looked up the Asian.
Hold on, wait, finish what he's saying.
The whole point of that wasn't who has more of what. That doesn't matter. The point is that's why you can say that there are sellouts in the black community, is because there's such a pervasive one-sided demographic for a certain political party that if a black person speaks contrary to that political party, they are instantly labeled a sellout.
No, that's incorrect.
Yeah, that's fact.
No, that's incorrect.
Why you called Candace Owen. That's why you called Clarence Thomas, John, to speak to John's argument about Clarence Thomas. You're saying that he's closing doors behind him. Well, those doors are supposed to be closed according to conservative principles, and he's a conservative. So that's why he was closing those doors, is because they, according to his political ideology, they shouldn't have been open in the first place.
So real quickly, I was going to bring John Martin in anyway. So I wanted to give like at least 3 minutes to let y'all be able to kind of work through that example specifically because it was one that you gave. So,
but that's my point.
My timer right now.
Hold on, wait. We better bring John here. John, are you able to hear people? Okay.
So I'll be transparent with you guys. I'm not a huge supporter of affirmative action in the way that it operates, because I feel like it limits opportunities. However, it is better than nothing. And I think that's the attitude that we talk about when you look at conservative principles versus liberal ideology as it relates to politics. I think that what you find in the Black community is that we are socially liberal while we are very conservative in our nature. And I think that why we skew to the Democratic Party so much is because their liberal ideology is safer for our community. It creates a barrier between those people who would do us harm and those people who would otherwise not ignore us, right? So it's not the reality of it for Black people is that it's a double-headed coin, where on one end you have one group who put no safeguards in place for the community, and it's this idea of everyone fends for themselves, everyone has bootstraps, and not acknowledging that some of us, due to the legacy of this country's history around slavery, don't have boots. Whereas there's another party who at least says, we know you don't have boots, so we're going to at least make boots available. And that's the difference between Republican and Democrat, conservative and liberal in the Black community. And so many of us like to rest under the umbrella of protection that is offered through liberal social programs and activities around the nation. And I think that's why we feel safer under Democrat. Even though you look at the Bill Clinton crime bill, right? You look at
Wade, I want to give you a chance to respond to that as well. You're still on mute, Wade.
Yeah, I was having a bit of a hard time hearing him. I was trying to hear everything he was saying. Yeah, I understand why Black people gravitate towards the Democratic Party. No one doubts why they do it. That wasn't in contention. My whole point about that wasn't to speak on Republican or Democrat or any of that in the first place. It was just that that's the only reason why people get labeled as a Black sellout is because they go against the Democratic platform in some way. That's the easiest way to get labeled a Black sellout. That's it. You shake your head no, but that's the fact. The name a Black sellout and what they're a sellout because of, and then let's look and see if that's on the Republican or Democrat side.
Now, real quickly, Wade, does anybody want to take him on that challenge? Does anybody feel comfortable?
Could I say? Can I say, I don't know if this is a take you on, and I'm assuming Wade is on the more conservative side of the political spectrum, just based on what he's saying. So we would probably agree on things, but so I'm going to go from that perspective and say that Brother Wade, my conservative to some degree brother, it's important that we are very judicious about the words we use and the things we say. Because like when you say 90% of Black people are Democrats or 90% of white people are Republican or whatever it was you said, man, look, you make us look bad. You know, when you said like most white people ain't Republican or however you worded it, man, you make us look bad. Come on, man. I mean, just be for real. There's a reason that people like the Hodge twins, which I think are really funny. I watched a lot of the videos. Candace Owens, I used to enjoy her podcast a lot until she started getting kind of woo-woo and that kind of stuff. Ben Carson, Armstrong Williams, Thomas Sowell, these type fellas, there's a reason that they stand out so much when they're Black and conservative is because, at least on the national scene, that is very rare. Now, me personally, I think that boots on the ground on the streets, that, you know, that the Black community is primarily conservative. We talk to them about their family values and working for a living and things when it comes to things like Second Amendment rights and small government, stuff like that. But come on, man, there's a reason that these talking head celebrities like Owens and the Hodge twins and those type people get so much attention in the media, because the Black Republican is so rare. And when you say anything different, you lose
I
credit.
just want to get to the comments after Dan. I want to get some.
Oh yeah, go get to the comments. After that, I'm gonna get Wade to respond, and then we're gonna go to John Martin, and then probably be closing it out pretty soon, and then Aki, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, there's a whole lot of people who look like Aki and are from the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, but they do not identify as Black. They are Hispanic, and they choose to self-identify as that.
But yeah, okay, cool. That was similar to what Aki mentioned earlier. So real quickly, what I want to do is just Wade, go ahead and respond. Wade, you want to respond?
Oh, yeah. So I Googled it just because people kept attacking my numbers. So historical consistency for decades, upwards of 80 to 90% of Black voters have supported the Democratic candidate in presidential elections. However, there have been recent shifts. In the 2024 election, around 83% of black voters supported Kamala Harris, with 15% voting for Trump. Oh, gee, didn't I say 85%? Yeah, okay. So, according to Pew Research Center on data on
83 is not
reported voting,
85.
but historically,
83 is not 85, and 80% is not 90%.
the same,
Well, yeah, right.
the same thing that you're overlooking. For
so
decades, upwards of 80 to 90% of black voters have supported the Democratic candidate in presidential elections.
So real
Now-
If we
quick,
go back through
now
the
go look
previous
up the number
Dane, you're on
for,
mute.
for
But,
Republicans.
there have been recent shifts.
Dane, you're on mute.
But historically,
Oh.
80 to 90%. But again, the specific percentages aren't
Dan, you're
dictated
muted.
here.
Sorry.
T
Was it-
reason. T
My
reason.
question
If
is,
I
was it or was
can
it
I
not
help you?
lower?
I want to
than
help
what
you, T
originally
reason.
stated. My question is,
reason.
was it or was it not lower
Hold
than
on,
what
y'all
you
talking
originally
at the
stated?
same time, one at a time, fellas, one at a time. Go
I'm
ahead,
gonna
go
help
ahead,
you,
Dan.
T reason. If you give me a minute, I can't believe Wade got me helping you. Hang on a minute, okay? If you just give me a minute, trust me. I'm a man of principle.
I
Like
can't
I said
believe I
on
ain't got you helping me either, brother. But
on our
it's
last
fine.
stream, I told you I stand on principle no matter who it associates me with or separates me from. So hang on a minute. Wade, you said that survey said what percentage of what voted what?
I said that the percentage in 2024 was that around 83% of black voters supported Kamala Harris, with 15% voting for Trump.
Okay, so what percentage is that 15% of black voters? What percentage of the black population in the country does that represent?
I have no idea.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
See, because it's important that we're very careful about the words we use and the arguments we present. Because what you're talking about is how many of the black people
That
who
actually
went to the
showed up
polls
to the
and
ballot.
voted for Kamala. That could have been a majority. It could have been a very small minority. We don't know. And that's
Could
my
have been
only
close to
point.
the
Hold on. So
50%.
real quickly, I want to say this. We got to go to the next topic real quick. I'm gonna give everybody closing comments that wants a closing comment. So you get a minute. So Aki, you want to go ahead and go? Go ahead, Aki.
You're muted.
You're on mute. You're on mute, Aki.
All right, just really quick, I want to name 3 black conservatives that most black people don't consider to be sellouts. One is Condoleezza Rice. I've never heard anybody black screaming that she's some type of sellout. The next one is Colin Powell, even though he did switch sides. And I believe that Eric Holder was a Republican at one point also. And no one called them sellouts. That's it.
You got 40 more seconds. You don't want any more time?
Yeah, I want to name I already named my my white sellouts. I say John Brown, Nancy Pelosi, and Bill Clinton to be more modern. That's what they consider to be sellouts on that side. So, and I would dare to say that any white progressive will be considered a sellout to a white conservative.
That's a big fat negative.
Oftentimes they get referred to as a rhino. Oftentimes.
Okay.
Negative.
Go ahead. Go ahead, T Reason. It's on you.
I pretty much said what I had to say, but a lot of times they do get skewed, and you don't have to just be a black Republican to be labeled a sellout. You have people who go from one music genre to the next, and they get referred to as a sellout. So when Wade said that the only time you can be a sellout is some political stuff, no, we have sellouts on sports. We have sellouts in music. We have sellouts in a lot of different categories. So when he said that statement, I was just like, no, that's not true.
All right, cool. So let's go ahead. So who else? Man on the street. You want to go ahead and make your comment?
Yeah, y'all, you done beat a dead horse. Only thing I'm gonna say to my man, my conservative brother Dane, is Kamala, man. If we gonna pronounce the name, man, call it by a proper name. That's all I'm gonna say.
Man, I'm from Alabama. I'm from Alabama. Hang on, brother. I'm from Alabama. I have 2 speech impediments that I deal with. I have a bad stutter, and I pronounce my R's like a W. Plus, I was raised like a marshmallow in a bowl of Cocoa Puffs. Man, I'm
Okay,
doing the best I can, man. I done raised 5
Okay,
kids and been
okay,
married to a crazy woman for 36 years. I'm doing good to speak, period.
that's the only thing I got to say, man.
All right,
If I can say something real quick, Vulcan, if that's possible.
go ahead.
John Brown is not a sellout. John Brown stood on his principles. He stood on business and he gave his life for it, and he charged into the mouth of the lion because of what he believed. He had a lot of supporters, black and white, but they were not man enough to stand up and support him and risk their life. He wasn't a sellout. He just stood for what he wanted, what he believed, and he gave his life for it. John Brown is a hero.
I
Okay,
agree.
Cola
I
and
agree.
Crystal.
But white people consider him to be a sellout, not
No,
black.
sir. No, sir. No, sir. Racist white people, which is a segment of white people, might consider him. Man, look, most people who haven't studied history don't have no idea who John Brown is. Black, white, yellow, green, purple. But yeah, some people would say because John Brown tried to start a slave rebellion and ended up seizing Harper's Ferry and got hanged for it, because they might say that. But that's not white people. Who ran the Underground Railroad? Okay, for the most part, white people.
All right,
we
so
gotta get to
sorry,
the
go ahead.
comments. We're gonna get to the comments.
Oh yeah, comments. Go ahead. Go ahead. You got comments?
All
Go
right,
ahead.
comments. Help the Bear said Dane is shooting from the hip
I'm
right
good.
now.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Enos.
Yeah, Dane is shooting for the hip right now. And the last comment said, help the Bear said, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Is the same as black mothers and fathers telling their kids to work hard and they'll be somebody. Black people don't realize that they are Republicans on the low. John Martin did echo that already earlier.
Okay, so real quickly, Cola, do you have something you wanted to share?
I just want to say it's been great. Give the Caesars what is Caesars. Pay your damn taxes. Close your mouth.
All right.